Hi, I'm Kat Miller.
And I'm Seymour Knox.
Welcome to Passionate Living. We're here today out in front of this amazing art gallery.
The Albright Knox Gunlack Museum of Buffalo,
And it's going to be open when?
2023.
Oh, that's so exciting.
It's really going to be exciting.
It's
I
going to
can't
be
wait.
gorgeous. Yeah, and your grandfather was a big part of, well, the
He
original.
was, and
Yeah.
we were blessed. My dad was part of it. My cousin Nordy and I have been part of it for a long time, and we're very, very excited.
Oh, this is going to be wonderful. And I want to thank C2 as we bring season 4 closer and closer to our final show for the season. I want to thank you for all the help you have given us with
Thank you, Kat.
Passionate Living. It's been wonderful, helping us with guests and everything in the background. And then we even did the one episode with Mana. That was
We
fun.
did.
Yeah. With Chef
That was great.
Dale
Chef
Holt.
Dale.
Yep. So thank you very much. And we got a great show today. We're going to be fishing around a little bit. We got a wonderful fellow who was on a boat in Alaska for 18 years fishing and started a business here in Western New York. They bring that amazing fish from Alaska back here, and he is so passionate. He's going to tell us everything about fish.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Right, and see him light up while he talks about it. And then we also have Dr. Andrew Pleener, part 2. He's going to talk to us about mental fitness.
Don't we all need that?
Oh, gosh. See, some days more than others. Some days way more than others. So we have a great show for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and get ready to take a journey into...
Passionate living.
He took that cue great. I am so excited today to meet with my friend Ryan and learn more about fish. Ryan!
Yeah, it's great
It's
to
so
see
great
you.
to see
Come on in.
Excited to learn about your passion for all things fish. I know that sounds funny. It sounds fishy.
No, I'm very passionate. I'm not doing it for the money, that's for sure.
That's great. Well, it is great. It is great, but it's part of being passionate, right?
Right,
It's the payment is doing what we love.
that's right.
And I know you make a big difference in the community with what you do with fish, so I'm excited to see what you have.
All right, let's go in.
I'm here with Ryan today. Ryan, you have a very cool life. You now have a fish company in Buffalo. Tell me a little bit about what it was like to fish in Alaska for 18 years? That's a long time to be in Alaska doing fishing and hard work.
I had an
Right.
uncle that fished up there, and he passed away in a tragic accident.
Oh,
and I had only
sorry.
fished with him once.
Right.
I was the only family member who ever fished with him. He was interesting, very reclusive and kept to himself, and I could see why once you get up there.
Yeah.
And with the tough communications, it's easy to just get in your own world, and it was beautiful. I can see why he did it. So I took over the boat, and I fell in love with it, and I started fishing full time. Tried to do every type of fishery I could in every style to see what resonated with me and my values. And I
Right.
could see a big problem in the way things were being done, in my opinion.
Right. In what way?
Well, I felt like there was a lot of waste. There was a lot of waste, and there wasn't respecting the resource as much
Right.
as I thought there could be.
And tell me a little bit about the waste with fishing. Like you throw a lot of fish overboard, and I know that was a big thing with line caught tuna versus net caught tuna with dolphins and such. Can you talk a little to that?
When you're targeting one species, you're not supposed to catch other fish. But these are wild animals, and inevitably you're going to catch some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's about aligning the markets and having transparency with what you're catching,
Right.
and communicating to policymakers and fisheries managers on what you're catching, and being able to keep everything and sell it to the right markets.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about the type of fishing that you really were drawn to.
So I fell in love with the hook and line fisheries and the smaller scale jig fishery specifically, and that was out of Kodiak, and it was a relatively new type of
Right.
fishing. So it
What's
was
jig fishing?
yeah. So good question. So there's a hook and lines, about 10 of the hooks on with a weight, keeping the line down. And small boats go out and they drop them down, and hopefully you get 10 fish to bite. And then you handle each one by one, and you take really good care of each one. Try to ice them immediately, versus some of the other more industrial methods, which are giant nets that catch everything, dump it all on board, and they don't take care of them.
Can you tell me a little bit about the difference between farm fishing, or the fish farms, versus wild caught fish, and what the difference might be there?
So farm raised has rightfully so gotten a bad rap because the early stages of farm fishing were very destructive. It actually caused more feed to feed these animals than they were getting back. So for every 1 pound of fish, it would take 2 pounds of wild forage fish that they would extract from poorer countries in Africa and around the world to make the feed to feed these things. So it was a net negative, and that was not a great trajectory.
Right.
Since then, they've improved by adding other ways of doing it, but it's still an industrial level thing. It's still not as ethical as some of the smaller farms that other mom and pops are producing fish in.
Right. Yeah, now I know some of the things that I've heard about farm-raised fish is the antibiotics and other chemicals. They're genetically engineered a lot of the time. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, in order to get fish to live in this unnatural environment, even though they are in the ocean, they have to live in a confined space. And normally these fish would be out swimming, navigating through the ocean till they come back to their home rivers and spawn. So these fish have got to make amends with this small little group. Sea lice is a big problem. Die-offs are a big problem. Then the biggest problem is intermingling with the wild stocks, because they're actually a different species of fish than the wild stocks.
Okay. And who's this guy that's bringing in the fish here?
This is Jeff, our manager.
Hi, Jeff. It's nice to meet you. And here, I guess we could just put him here. Thank you. All right. So what do we have here?
So this is all wild caught, blast frozen Alaskan seafood. This here is ling cod, and it's funny because it's not a ling or a cod, it's actually a greenling. So it lives in the same type of environment as a halibut. It's pretty similar in texture and taste, but it's actually got more of a nutty flavor to it.
I had that about a month ago. I got some from you.
Oh,
and
nice.
it was delicious.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
And you probably haven't heard about it too much around here.
No, I haven't. I've never heard about it. So
It's a West Coast staple, and I've been trying to just educate Western New Yorkers about it.
that's great.
So next up is the sockeye salmon, which had its record run of sockeye that returned to the rivers of all time since they've been keeping record. So it's a really well managed fishery. These fish grow really fast, and they're resilient. And yeah, we partner with some different sockeye fishermen, and they send us this great product.
All right. And this one is another type of salmon, right?
Right. This is a Akita, and you can see the color difference. And what's amazing about the color difference is it has to do with where they feed on the food chain. So these sockeye are more filter feeders, and then these Akita will bite. The biggest thing is they bite hooks. So you can catch a Akita on a hook, whereas the sockeye use gill nets, and they're caught with small boats, and that's amazingly has a very low bycatch. You mostly catch other salmon.
Right. Don't think people realize all the time just how healthy fish is for you.
Right, and the big ones are the DHA and the omega-3s. All the omega-3s, it's they keep learning more and more about it, and how good it really is for you. Not a nutrition expert, but we do have one on staff, and she's helping us communicate that more to the public.
That's great. Now, how much fish can you actually eat every week?
These fish, you want to have ones that are faster growing, shorter lived, that has lower contaminants. But even the other fish, Alaskan fish especially, has lower contaminants than any of the species that we catch even around here.
That's great. And it's really good when you get any type of meat product, fish product, that it's frozen first. Is that true?
Yeah, so that's a safety step in doing any sushi grade product. You want to have it frozen. So anytime you have sushi, it's been frozen.
Right.
And that's to kill any parasites. Our fish are particularly frozen cold. We spend a lot of research and a lot of money and time figuring out that the faster you freeze it, the colder, the better it tastes.
What is the best way to cook a fish?
So some fish are more susceptible to overcooking, and that'd be like the whiter, lighter, less fatty fish, like even this lingcod. The sockeye actually has much more fat, and you could cook it a little bit longer, but you can eat all of these raw. And I always suggest undercooking. If you have any doubts, undercook it. And just, I usually sear the outside and finish it off in the oven. A lot of people laugh at us because we do our fishing one at a time, and there's other more efficient methods, but this one's my favorite. I get to handle each fish one by one, take good care of it, make sure you guys get the best product.
I hear you talk about your fish and the fishing and and fishing rights and everything that we've had conversations about over the last couple of years of knowing you. And I'm always just blown away by how lit up you are.
Yeah, it's the one thing that moves me now. And besides my 4-year-old.
Yeah, I was going to say.
She's number one. She's
and
why I'm here in Buffalo.
Now that you have this little squirt, you're not going to Alaska fishing as much.
Not as much.
Yeah.
Not as much. I haven't gone this year at all. I've been going out to the East Coast and forging some relationships with other like-minded businesses there, small boat fishermen. And that's what's been exciting, is being part of these conservation councils and small boat groups, is we're all trying to help each other market each other's fish and bring it to market in a way that we can sustain ourselves with and tell our stories.
Ryan, thank you so much. I love being here today. This was such a blast to learn more about fish.
Thank you for coming. I love sharing, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to get the message out and educate as many people as we can.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
There's a state of psychological flexibility where we have balance between our fight and flight response and rest and digest response. And typically we're in rhythms, and it's from the time that we're born, just like planets are in a rhythm, we're in a rhythm. The sunlight comes up, our melatonin levels go down. The sun sets, our melatonins go up. Cortisol level is supposed to be low at night, high in the morning. This way we're tired and we get that kick in the day to be alert. But these stressors and traumas that disrupt our psychological flexibility and tip that balance to fight or flight, out of rest and digest, those rhythms become disrupted. Cortisol levels tend to be higher at night instead of lower.
They do, and we fight it. I find myself fighting sleep. Like, I'll be in bed, I get in a chill moment, and then, I want to play a video game, or maybe I'll check emails, or, I try to keep my electronics out of my room, but there's that part of my brain sometimes where I get caught in the cycle that's almost fighting going to sleep.
I think having the phones there, always knowing that there's a message, that there's something to do. Once we get stimulated, those cortisol levels are getting us in a state of alert. We don't want to go to sleep if you're running from a lion. You want to get as far away from that lion, then go to sleep. So,
it's true.
Putting the smartphones away, actually retraining our nervous system to slow down and get on pause it all helps us getting away from screen time, the blue lights that are emitted from those screens. Those also lower melatonin levels. And if our cortisol levels are so high at night, sometimes it's depleted by the morning. So you find that at night, can't fall asleep, morning, can't get up. It becomes this repetitive cycle.
Now, I started using something I know you use in your practice, and that's the alpha stim. And that emits alpha waves into the brain by putting these probes on your earlobes. And that has helped me immensely now at night. I'm sleeping better than I have ever. How does that work? How do things like that work? I know you have a lot of alternatives that you use, and this is one of them.
The simple example is that it's never completely linear, but anxiety, the hormones that cause us to feel shaky and heart rate going up and breathing patterns changes and knots in the stomach, that might be happening now, that might be happening a lot 10 years ago.
Right.
But the buildup of all those hormones tends to lead to sleeping disruptions because of the changes in cortisols and melatonin.
Okay.
And it also starts to affect just overall, just a lot of different rhythms in the body that eventually lead to inflammation in the cells, very similar to depression. When you're inflamed and you have low energy, malaise, fatigue, very similar with all of those things: stress, sleep, depression, which is what alpha stim is actually approved for, the three of those things: anxiety, depression, insomnia. And what it's really doing is it's sending a patented harmonic low frequency wave to the ears that gets picked up by the cells, transmits that to the nervous system and the brainstem, and waves, the frequencies, actually unlock cells that have been neglected for a long period of time. When we're chronically in high alert, we're emitting higher frequency waves that are unlocking cell receptors that match up to that. Just like my key fob will unlock my car, but not yours. Your car needs a different receptor.
What I love that you do is that you have a person walk into your office and you treat the person. You don't treat the symptoms.
Absolutely. There's a mind-body connection. Everybody goes through different challenges. It's not about learning to recognize a disorder. It's about understanding how life experiences disrupt neural circuits and how you could actually repair that using an integrative approach.
That's great. If you could tell somebody watching right now one thing, one exercise for their ultimate mental health, or one thing to do or not to do, what would it be?
Alternating nostril breathing is a great technique to get both hemispheres working in a more synchronized way. So the left brain is a little bit more analytical, a little bit more focused. The right side of the brain is a little bit more abstract, helps you to fall asleep a little bit. So pranayama, or alternating nostril breathing, you close one nostril, you inhale through the open nostril for 4 seconds, you hold it for 2, and then you exhale out the other side for 6. And then you go back in that nostril that you exited from for 4, hold it for 2, exit out the opposite side for 6. The way most people do it is they take the index finger and middle finger, put it on the bridge of their nose. You can close one nostril, and then you could use your ring finger for the other. And you can go back and forth.
Interesting.
It's a great modality that I'll do in the morning if I want to get some clarity of thoughts and help myself focus. So it's something you could all try.
I'm going to try it tomorrow morning.
Excellent.
If I look a little brighter tomorrow, you'll know why. A lot of times, people who suffer from fibromyalgia, autoimmune, gut issues, as you talked about, they're going to doctors and they're running into dead ends. But oftentimes, it can come from an overload in the mental sphere, correct? That's actually symptoms of something going on emotionally or mentally, not necessarily it manifests in the physical.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very rare that somebody's going to come to my practice with anxiety, depression, insomnia by itself. Usually it's going to encompass some form of pain, some form of chronic fatigue. There's going to be dermatological flares. There's
Right.
going to be outbreaks. There's going to be increase of blood pressure. There's a lot of physical components to this, and it has a lot to do with the stress and the endocrine, that's hormones that are being released over so long. It's the same reason why anybody that goes through adverse childhood experiences are at higher risk
Right.
of diabetes or heart disease much later on in life. It's because of the buildup of hormones from being in states of high alert. So from taking time to learn these integrative modalities and rewire your central nervous system, we could reduce some of those effects. That's the concept that we talked about today with STAR.
Right.
STAR is our acronym, stands for stress and trauma, the things that build up in our nervous system, active release and rewiring exercises, and we call it the gym for the central nervous system. Things like alpha stim, different forms of breath work and yoga and tapping and qigongs and TREs.
Right.
And the more we start doing this, we don't just improve our mind, we actually reduce we improve our physical health as well.
Right. So you can repair it. If you can break it, you can fix it.
It's mental health lives on a continuum. You're never locked in. You could always work to get yourself more resiliency.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a joy, and hopefully we'll have you back again to share some more tips.
I would love it.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for being here with me today, C.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's been fun. So remember to join us every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. on WBBZ, your true hometown station. And you can go to our website, passionateliving.com. And every Thursday night now at 8 p.m. we live stream the show for anybody who's out of town, and you can check it out on Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. And see, we're getting ready as we close down season 4 to start our filming for season 5. But
Passionate living. That's where it's at.
That's where it's at. And we look forward to seeing all of you next week. So join us again on Passionate Living.
Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Steve.